As always, thank you to my incredible teachers listed here. Now let's jump right into the picture with the Heroforge Mini on the left, the elf holding the book, Elf Wizard. And on the right from the Artisan Guild Patreon is a wizard named Spellbrush, actually modeled after a famous painter. And you can see the Patreon model is more detailed, but the Heroforge model isn't bad. I was actually surprised. The level of detail on it when I printed it out is actually pretty good. And maybe the biggest difference, if you're talking just from a sculpting standpoint, on the plus and minus side, what you have is on a Patreon sculpt, they do you get more detailed weapons. I think the poses actually look better, because when you pose in Heroforge, sometimes they look okay, but some of the poses come out looking a little awkward or goofy, even though you can adjust things on it. If you have a good artist, I think you just get better poses out of the Patreon. And on Heroforge, you can only add one thing to each side of the belt, basically, or each side of the figure, and one or two things to the back. So you get a lot less detail on the sculpt. If you look at the Spellbrush, the guy on the right, he's got on his belt a potion, he's got brushes, he's got a scroll, he's got a sword scabbard, and look at the big imp curled around his leg. You can't get anything like that on Heroforge. Obviously, you're on base type decorations, you're limited to like this skull that you see here on the left. So you can't get as nice a sculpt. That's hands down. You can look at these two and realize you're getting just a much better sculpt off a good artist on Patreon than you are on Heroforge. But I am going to say the Heroforge sculpt, look, it's a mini. It's going to be on the tabletop. If you're a good painter or even a mediocre painter, it's still going to look good when you paint it up. And it's also exactly what you want in terms of the pose, the design, even the proportions on the character. So at the sale price of $3.99 for an STL, which it is for Black Friday, I actually think if you really can't find anything close to what you want from one of your Patreons or on Thingiverse, then maybe it does make sense to get something off Heroforge. When they're priced, the normal price is $8. I won't buy one, because even though it might be exactly what I want, kind of like if I want this necromancer, like my son wanted me to make this necromancer for him, and I bought this for the video, but also for my son because he specifically wanted a necromancer, and I didn't have anything that really fit that bill, but I wasn't going to pay $8 to get it. But for $3.99, and also I figured I should make a video about it, so for $3.99 I figured, okay, I won't be so cheap, I'll get it. And I'm pretty happy with it, actually. Printed out pretty nicely. The details printed out pretty well, as you can see, and it's a pretty good figure. Again, if someone just said play a sorcerer, I'd pick the one on the right. But if someone said like my son said, I want a necromancer, and when I went through the items, he's holding a book of the dead and a flaming skull out of his hand. So yeah, again, for the $3.99, I do think it's worth it. The model, as you can see, it's, again, not nearly as detailed as a Patreon model, but it's also not bad. I was actually surprised. I also have not pictured here. I'm going to throw some pictures in so you can look at these while I'm talking. I have a dwarf that I got off Heroforge long before I was into 3D printing, so I actually paid the $30 to get it, which is now, I think, insane. But that Heroforge dwarf, and I think dwarf is a race where they're lacking in terms of the way it looks, it's not half as good as one of the dwarves from the Patreons I'm in. And in particular, Artisan Guild, again, they happen to make a sword and board dwarf, pictured here, which absolutely fit exactly what my character wanted to be somehow. So for that, there's no way in hell I'd get a Heroforge figure, because it doesn't look half as good as a really nice Patreon sculpt. So I guess my takeaway from this is, if there's a figure that you really want that none of your Patreons make, and you want a specific pose holding specific items, I do think Heroforge is actually worth the $3.99 to get that. I personally don't think it's worth $8 to get it, but some of you may say, hey, $8 is still fine, but to me, it's not. But anyway, so I just wanted to give you guys a side-by-side comparison, especially for the people who've never ordered a Heroforge one. Now you can, I actually think you can safely go after one if it's something you really want. And for $3.99, it's not a huge investment. Personally, I think Heroforge, if they drop their price all the time to this price, or even, I think, better, I think if they did like $2 per STL, people like me, like now I give them no money, basically. If they drop their STL price to $2, I might get 20, 30 things from them. So I think they're really making a mistake business-wise in their model in terms of pricing versus volume. I think they can make a lot more money if they priced it right and went for high volume. But again, that's just my humble, and obviously they're not going to listen to me. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. Hope you can order off Heroforge. I'm going to do another comparison with Desktop Hero. In the next coming week or two, I'll make a video about that, and we'll see how that compares to Heroforge and also to Patreons. So please like, please subscribe, and if I have a series of instructional videos on how to print stuff like this out. So that's it. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving, and happy 3D printing.